So here on the couch, once again, we have Dan Meyer, and then our special guest with us today is Robert Olson, and he is with Appalachian Law Center. How are you two gentlemen doing today?
Doing great.
That's
doing
awesome.
Well.
So Dan, tell us about, I guess, our feature that we're talking about today.
Well, first,
okay, you got some other cool things.
Any tests today?
Announcement. No tests today.
That's what I was worried about.
Tests
I was worried
today.
about another test that you're going to throw out.
I kind of like those though. Like keeps me on my feet.
We can come up with one.
No,
Yeah.
let's not. I embarrassed myself enough last time.
I just want to let folks know about 3 major things that are coming up very quickly, and that is Thursday.
Okay.
The Chamber and the University are sponsoring a workshop for businesses that are interested in doing business with the university. Because it's a state agency, they have certain regulations and guidelines for doing business. And so we're excited that the university is interested in shopping local too.
Right, yeah.
So their purchasing department is putting this workshop on for us. If you're interested in that, give us a call at the Chamber at 264-2225 to register. We already have almost 50 people signed up for this workshop.
That's good.
Wow.
And it is Thursday starting at 8:30. It will be in the Plemons Student Center, parking in the garages both on River Street and by the up by the library. Great opportunity. Then Friday morning, we have what we call Wake Up Watauga. That will be at the Daniel Boone Inn at 8 o'clock from 8 to 9. And Tim Ford, who's president of the Blowing Rock Hospital, will be there and talk about the new hospital that they're planning. And other projects that the hospital is doing, and talk about healthcare in general. So that, again, you must RSVP, call the Chamber. They'll have some sausage biscuit, country ham biscuits,
country
not
ham.
sausage, country ham biscuits and coffee. And then on the 19th, coming up in a couple of weeks, will be our Spelling Bee for Grown-Ups. Part of the proceeds goes towards educational programs here in the High Country. We encourage our businesses and friends in the community to put together a 4-person team and come ready to spell at the high school from 5 to 7 on Monday, on March 29th. I believe it's a Tuesday. So 3 big things coming up.
Okay.
Great.
Here's a test for you, since we're talking spelling.
Oh, no.
Spell mediation.
I can't spell that. Sorry.
I'm not even going to attempt it because if I mess it up and get it wrong, I'm going to look bad.
Mediation. What do you think it is? Define it then. If you can't spell it, what is mediation?
Well, he's just asking you.
I know that.
Putting them on the spot.
A control, like a kind of
Like
a monitor type thing? Yeah, like a median.
Between 2 things?
Well,
Yeah.
it's between 2 things.
Oh,
that's
yes.
exactly where the word comes from, and that is a third party between 2 people or organizations that have something they are contesting, that they have a disagreement over. We're in a society today where if something goes wrong, you just sue a person, and we're very referred to as a litigious society. Like the lady that sued McDonald's for spilling hot coffee. Those kind of things. We sue people for everything. And the reality is we spend millions and millions and millions of dollars in the court system, and mediation is an option to stay out of the court system for a lot of reasons. And that's why I've invited Rob Olson to be here with us from the Appalachian Law Center, because that's the primary thing that you do is mediation work, right?
Yes, sir, Dan, and thank you for the opportunity, Alex and Drew.
Thank you.
Our center was built on and focused today on mediation or alternative dispute resolution. So handling conflicts and getting to resolution outside of the traditional adversarial courtroom approach.
Right. Now, we often think of mediation, sometimes a counselor gets in that role of mediating between two people, and we hear most about some domestic things, but I'm interested in today in talking about how mediation can help businesses, because businesses get after each other too. We see that in the paper often, and there are a variety of different areas where mediation, other than domestic mediation, can happen and be very helpful. What are some of those areas, Rob, that you can work in?
Let's talk about the business opportunities for a moment. First of all, one of the key premises, if you will, of mediation has to do with maintaining a good relationship. So if you are in a business and if it's with a vendor, someone that you need to rely on going forward, The mediation process provides you an opportunity to get to a resolution, a healthy resolution, a constructive resolution, and protect that relationship so that you can continue to do business in the future. We all know that generally if we make it to court, then that relationship is going to end. And in a small community like we live in, we don't have the luxury necessarily of 5 other potential vendors filling in. Mm-hmm. It may only be one, so you want to protect that relationship. So business to business, business to vendors, we also can mediate situations between businesses and their customers. So if there is an issue over service, if there's an issue over a contract clause, instead of battling it out, we can sit down and work with the folks to come up with a resolution that works for all involved.
I think that's a great point, because so often you may have a working relationship in a lot of different areas, and just the question is in one, and you don't want to sabotage the entire relationship for the one contentious issue, and so it allows you, in essence, it allows you to stay friends,
Right.
but come to a mutually agreeable resolution, and then you can put it behind you and move on.
Now with mediation, it works totally different, right? You know, there's not a. Is there a court setting, or is it just a?
That's a great question, Drew. And I will tell you, it's interesting. In North Carolina, we are one of the leaders, generally number 1 or number 2 in the country in terms of the use of mediation through the court system. For example, if you file a lawsuit, chances are that you will have to go to mediation before you ever get in front of a judge. So you've got court-mandated mediation, and then you have private folks who just seek out mediation as the resolution process. The setting tends to be very informal, and generally we use round tables, so there's no discussion about who sits at the head of the table or on opposite sides. And we have a conversation. The role of the mediator is really just to facilitate a conversation. It is nothing to do with making decisions, imposing his or her judgment on the people in conflict. It's helping them to explore ideas, really expand the universe, and develop a solution that works for both or all.
The court system so often takes even a relatively small issue sometimes and makes it into a bigger adversarial thing, because everybody's out to get something for their client, and their client wants this and the other, and before you know it, you've built walls that really make it difficult. Whereas in mediation, you can really sit down and discuss. And any time that you're involved in coming to a decision, the decision is going to be better, and it's going to be better accepted and probably acted upon.
Yeah, all fair observations, Dan. A key plank, if you will, in mediation is self-determination. So that means that the parties get to decide for themselves what is the best outcome, as opposed to going through court and then ultimately a judge saying, this is the way it will be, which may or may not be conducive to their way of life, the way they do business. In mediation, you get to take all those factors in. So while we use the law as a source, a touchstone, if you will, we're not bound by it. We can be incredibly creative with the type of solution that ultimately comes out of a mediation.
How binding are the solutions, or does that vary again on whether it's court-ordered or client introduced?
Regardless of whether it's court-ordered or not, if a final resolution has reached, that is a legally enforceable contract in the state of North Carolina. Okay. So once it's signed, it's enforceable, and if someone does not follow up as they are supposed to, the other party can bring a breach of contract lawsuit.
Okay.
Or bring it back to mediation, which is what we would encourage.
Huh. Now, is it a little bit cheaper to take someone into a mediation, I'm sure, than taking them to court?
Yeah.
Again, generally to file a civil suit in Watauga County, for example, you're looking at a minimum of $3,500 to $5,000 just to get the process started. How long it goes from there, how much more, it's all a question of the system. In mediation, it's an hourly fee. It's $150 an hour. And you really can do much of the homework, if you will, before you come in and work with the mediator, so you can keep your costs contained. But almost every time, in every example, you will save significant amount of money and time over going the adversarial route.
And hopefully a relationship, too.
Yes.
Exactly. So for those of you that are watching, as far as some of the business aspects that you might deal with, right-of-way concerns,
Yes.
property compensation, workers' compensation cases, unemployment, or hirings and firings and that kind of thing, employee disputes.
And employee disputes.
Okay. Contract resolution.
Yes.
Business to business. An interesting one, succession planning. Think about that. If families now own the business, more than one sibling, and then you have difficulties, probably a very important role, and maybe not even almost counsel before mediation is even necessary to really have an understanding of how you're going to pass that business along and who's going to do what.
That's exactly right, Dan. And we're very fortunate to have such a rich tradition and heritage of family-owned businesses in this area. And so thinking about how that will continue in the future, you get multiple family members who may have multiple interests and thoughts about the business. This is an opportunity for them to sit down and get everything out on the table. And again, do what's right ultimately for the business and for the family, not what's right for the court process.
Right. And maybe even beyond succession, just planning for change. Let's say you're making some dramatic changes in your business. Good to have a third party there to kind of bounce ideas, reflect, help people to come to a point of agreement.
That's exactly right. And take the pulse of the people who are being affected by the change.
Great, great. So, mediation. MEDIATIO.
I knew how to spell that. I still want to,
I
was just trying to give it to Drew.
Right.
I think I was pretty close on that. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't want to take the chance, but
So I encourage businesses. I encourage families, even with estates. Siblings with estates, and individuals that want to get things resolved in an efficient, effective, timely, cost-saving, ongoing way.
Right.
I really encourage folks to check out Appalachian law and seek out a mediation resolution to the issue that's there.
yeah, sounds like it works a whole lot better. It's a
Yeah,
lot cheaper and
I
everything
agree.
too, and that way you're not causing so much conflict and everything. So,
Right.
all right, well, guys, thanks
Thank
for coming on and
you
speaking with
so
us.
much.
Thank
Pleasure
you
to
very
be with
much.
We'll be back in a minute with more MTN Channel 18.